Let me make this abundantly clear just so there's no confusion. I don't want to get into this review before you actually know what on earth is going on. This is a PSA to save you some time. This is a review of the Namcot Collection. The Namcot Collection is the Japanese release of the Namco Museum Archives volumes that the West has received digitally, although not exactly the same concept, very different execution. So, the one you are probably looking for, the Western release Namco Museum Archives Volume 1 and 2, are digital releases on the eShop. They're very simple. Each volume contains 11 games from Bandai Namco's past, specifically Namco, console ports of their classic arcade games. The Japanese release, which is the one I'm reviewing right here, is a whole different beast. The download for the Japanese version contains one simple game. It's a free download. Think of it as a free to start sort of thing. You can then buy each of the other games individually for a small price of 300 yen, which is $2.80 or £2.20 in Western money. That's the digital version. However, there is a physical version in Japan which contains 11 of the games on one cartridge, which is what I have. So yeah, think of it like 3 versions overall. The simple Western bundles, the Japanese download where you pay for what you want, or the Japanese physical, which is basically a single volume on a cartridge. So here we go. I'm technically reviewing the Japanese physical here, which has a mix and match of the Western volumes as games. So yeah, this is a collection of super old NES games. You may remember a while back Bandai released a collection of old arcade games. Well, these are the console variants, there or thereabouts. That inherently makes these games found here far less interesting. Back in those days, it was almost impossible to find a console port that turned out better than the arcades. Nevertheless, here we are with a bunch of Famicom and NES games. Now, I'm not going to go into them individually, at least not too much, but you've got most of the classics. Pac-Man, which I actually like the NES version. I had it on the 3DS Virtual Console and played it far more than I ever thought I actually would. I'm rubbish at Pac-Man, but boy do I like it. I know people lament the lack of Ms. Pac-Man in these releases, but considering rights issues, Bandai probably just didn't want the hassle. It is a pity, but that doesn't bother me personally, especially because of the inclusion of the best game in this compilation, hands down, no question, Pac-Man Championship Edition NES style. Yes, they completely remade the classic reboot down to 8-bit, and it is absolutely glorious. Frenetic arcade action at its absolute finest. It is such a blast to play, and I could not put this one down at all. I made the mistake of playing this one first, and I struggled to pull myself away to try the other games available. Now, there's a sad bit of info that if you went for the Japanese digital option, this is not available for purchase straight off. Bandai went a bit greedy and made this only available to those who purchased all the other games. If you own the Japanese cartridge, it is on there, so don't worry, and one of the Western volumes contains it too. It is epic. In terms of other titles, it's both hit and miss in terms of quality. Galaga is decent, but it's not the best version ever. Family Jockey is a very obscure title, a racing betting game that struggles to compete due to only being in Japanese and the gameplay being quite rough. Fascinating nonetheless though, and it is not included in any of the Western volumes, probably due to language issues. The Tower of Druaga is painfully slow. Nice concept, but needed to be much faster, responsive, and have far better hit detection. It is the worst game on this Japanese collection for sure. Battle City is just combat, probably fun with 2 players, but single player is just dull. On the whole, I either enjoyed the rest of the games or was just, impressed, I guess. Star Luster hardly holds up that well, but I genuinely cannot believe that it's a Famicom game. It's kind of like that ambitious Star Trek game on the Atari, I forget what it's called, but it's like a first-person space shooter with very ambitious false 3D environments. I'm still not convinced this was a real title back in the day, since it's silky smooth and has programming tricks for days. If it was like a more linear experience, I think I'd like this more than the original Star Fox, no question. And sadly, this is not included in the Western volumes. Yokai Dochuki is a super rough but enjoyable adventure platformer. I wasn't enthralled by it, but I enjoyed what I played. Again, a Japanese exclusive due to small amounts of Japanese language, but I found it fine to play despite that though, so I didn't find any language problems. Dragon Spirit is a serviceable enough shooter where your dragon grows heads the more you power it up. It has like a Xevious type gameplay where there's enemies in the air and enemies on the ground, which require different attacks to defeat. It's fun enough, but it wouldn't be my go-to shooter on the Switch. There's a Splatterhouse game, which I'm referring to as Chibi Splatterhouse, and again, it is basic, but it's genuinely a fun little title to play. It's one of those that I had to force myself to stop playing in order to move on. Simple side-scrolling action, akin to kind of like Ghosts and Goblins, mixed in with some horde survival areas, lots of boss battles, lots of fun Halloween imagery, plus Dracula enters the fray giving you the middle finger. How can you not love that? Then we have Quinty, also known as Mendel Palace in North America. This is actually the first game made by Game Freak, way before Pokemon was a twinkle in their eyes. Created by the very same people, Satoshi Tajiri, Ken Sugimori and Junichi Masuda, this title has all the hallmarks of Game Freak, outside of Pokemon. Say what you want about them, they have a great eye for small little action puzzle games, and this is one of them. It's all about walking over star tiles to gain as many points as possible before you dispose of all the goons after you by flipping the floor. It is a lot of fun and a nice challenge, and again, one that I struggle to put down. Wagan Land is the last title. It's on the Japanese cartridge and is also the free one you get by just downloading the app from the Japanese eShop. It's a cutesy platformer where you stun enemies rather than killing them. It reminds me of like early Game Boy Kirby, albeit with an art style made in Microsoft Paint. It is harmless, cute, and fun, and I also believe this is missing from the Western releases too. Now, those are the games that I have. There are more out there, most split between the 2 volumes available in the West. It seems that Japan has to wait for the rest of the games, so has less games overall at the beginning. What I mentioned today is all that Japan has to offer so far, but don't worry, they will be getting them soon. As a reference, here are the other games that the West have between their volumes: Galaxian, Pac-Land, Dig Dug 1 and 2, Xevious, Super Xevious, Mappy, Mappy Land, Sky Kid, Legacy of Wizard, Rolling Thunder, Dragon Buster 1 and 2, and Gapless. The Japanese release does not have these games yet. And circling back to Japanese exclusives, they have Family Jockey, not a big deal, Wagan Land, Yokai Dochuki, and Star Luster. In terms of the ports themselves, I found them to be excellent. These ports have been handled by M2, known for their quality. Now, I'm not an expert in this field, as has been shown in the past, so don't take this as gospel, but I didn't notice anything I hadn't before in games like Pac-Man and Galaga. It seemed fine to me. I wish there were more options available though. You can change screen size, add scan lines, anti-aliasing, and have 4 save slots per game, but that's really it. I'm all about customization when it comes to old-ass games, especially of an arcade nature, so it's sad to see none of that going on here. The only thing kind of like that is a rather awkward rewind feature, which seems to pick a moment from the past at random to take you to. Often it will be like a millisecond before you die, or 5 seconds before. There is no rhyme or reason, and it's strange to see it not actually rewind. Instead, it just warps you somewhere in the past. So, moving on to prices. The 2 Western volumes are $20 a pop, so in total, $40 for 22 games. That's less than $2 a game, which, in the era of past, when the Virtual Console was alive and well, that's not actually bad. Whether you'd actually buy all of these individually or not is another question entirely. There is a couple of duffs in there amongst the curiosities and the classics. The Japanese digital release is certainly worth a download though. You get a free game. Plus, despite the fewer titles available to purchase from the off, you can actually pick and choose. You can choose not to pick up Family Jockey or Tower of Druaga. Plus, Western people can sample a few exclusives that Japan has so far, which I do recommend. If you want to access the Japanese eShop and you don't know how, then in the description we have a handy guide on our website to show you how to do it. It's very simple. And if you do want to purchase any of the individual games, you'll need some Japanese eShop credit, and there are links in the description below and pinned comment as to where you can find some of that. Then finally we come to the Japanese physical release. This is one of the cheapest imports ever, but obviously for good reason. You get 11 games on the cartridge, but you do need to factor in delivery costs and potential import fees. But if you want to pick this one up for your collection, then all the power to you. While some of the Japanese exclusives don't have English, almost all of them are playable aside from Family Jockey, and actually all of the menus and instructions are in English too, which is a nice bonus. If you want to import, then again the import links are down below. If you use that link, then it will also support the SwitchWatch team at the same time. We earn 5% off every order, just so you know. It really helps us out. Of course, only if you're planning on picking it up anyways. But as a bonus, you can get 5% off every physical item you purchase if you use the coupon code SwitchWatchTV when checking out. That's all one word, SwitchWatchTV, for 5% off your physical orders. Obviously, with this import being so cheap, it hardly makes a dent, but 5% is nice anyways. Overall, I find these retro compilations so difficult to do a verdict on. I mean, there are so many different kinds of context we could go for. Are the games up to modern standards? Are we only judging it as a package? Judging the games as they were back in the day? Do you judge it for newcomers or those nostalgic? I mean, where do we even start? Especially because there are basically 3 kinds of purchase options for this one, with some exclusives here and there. The ports themselves are fine. The games, at least the ones I played in the Japanese package, are a mixed bag, but there's some quality in there too. I paid $20 for a physical of 11 Famicom games, and I found that to be fine. I mean, I like it. It's fine. But even here, most are still just curiosities. But then you have Pac-Man Championship Edition NES style, which is almost worth the price of admission alone. What do I do? How do I give this a verdict? Okay, I know. Jason on the website is going to freak out at this. I know you're reading the script now, Jason, and wondering what I'm going to do, but, I'm rating this Namco Retro compilation a fine out of 10. What, that's not good enough? Like 6.5? Maybe 7? I don't know, it's fine. It's fine out of 10. Anyways, thanks to all of you for watching. If you made it this far, I applaud your ability to power through my ramblings. Thanks to all of you, our subscribers, our commenters, our YouTube members, as well as our executive producers, Jonathan Rumor, Dane Wilkinson, Gannicus, and God of Resin. Don't forget to watch a couple of our reviews that dropped yesterday, Coma 2 and Ruiner, both worth a look. We'll see you guys over there. Take care.